Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this ridiculous little freaking knife right here. This is the HEADesigns Flame. Now, first off though, in the name of full disclosure, I gotta thank HEADesigns for loaning one of these guys my way. He sent it to me actually after via Slicey Dicey, another YouTuber. You should check him out. But anyways, I talked to Sam at Blade Show. I handled one of these guys. I said, Sam, I got to get one of these guys on the channel. And he said, okay, sure. And, I told him, as always, I'm talking about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly. Might be a gem, might be junk. Nevertheless, he sent it along. But, after handling this guy at Blade, it was just like, yeah, I need to get this guy on the channel. Let's go ahead and do a size comparison real quick. Here it is against your Spyderco Delica. Your Spyderco PM2 here. And then, of course, the Ontario Rat number 2. And actually, one thing I will highlight, by the way, is that in terms of absolute, sharpened blade length, the Delica isn't that far off from the very front part of this blade. This is not a big knife. I'm sorry, this is not a small knife. Although actually in the pocket, it's not all that huge either. If we compare this guy to the Spyderco PM2, you can see that, it fits almost entirely within the outline of the Spyderco PM2. So, although it is definitely a big blade, I can measure it up here. I'm just picturing a cop on the side of the road laughing his ass off, trying to do this measurement. We're coming in around 4 inches, a little bit underneath. I think legally you'll probably be okay. Although again, if the cop pulls this guy out, you're gonna have some splaining to do anyways. But there you go. And then finally, this is gonna be a quick review. I got this knife on a Saturday. I'm filming this knife on the Sunday, and it goes live for a very small limited run on the Monday. It just didn't feel like it was a great idea to, drag my feet and take freaking forever on it, when that could mean that no one would ever be able to get one who saw my video. So I'm going to go ahead and push that through, and because, frankly, it's kind of a weird piece, and I think I can about cover the needs here. So we're going to talk about what's good about this guy, what's not so good about this guy, and take it from there. So on the good side, one thing that actually surprised me is that the clip is quite good. Although the clip is nearby the exposed lock bar relief right here, and, as much as I want to say, oh, they should do that on the inside, it's an integral knife, that ain't happening. The clip works well. It's got plenty of spring to it. It's actually a pretty good clip, and it carries nicely enough. It's relatively deep in the pocket here. I was able to carry this around without a whole bunch of trouble, and actually the way that it's designed, it hangs along the inside of the pocket here with even the flipper tab is out here. I mean, this knife is so weird that of course, it's going to carry a little strange, but it doesn't carry badly. So the clip is well done. Next thing, the ergos on this are actually surprisingly good. Not something I thought I'd be saying about it, but it kind of is, because what you have here is you've got a really good grip back here, because the clip fills the hand nicely. Then you've got this whole area, which is very nicely rounded off. And then up at the front here, you've got this tension, where your thumb is against this thumb ramp, and the flipper tab is down here. So actually, although it's a very thin knife, I mean, I really don't have much finger contact in this region down there, it carries, at least for my relatively small hands, it holds very well. I feel like I have a very, very solid grip on this, much more so than I expected initially seeing the design. So I think, although very narrow handles can often be a problem, the thickness that you get here off of this guy, as well as this little bit of bracing, actually makes for very nice ergonomics. It was kind of strange, but it's kind of cool. Next thing, this is a beautifully made knife. This knife, unlike most knives, which are created with kind of a sandwich-based construction, this is a Herman Knives custom, you can see here that this guy has a backspacer in the middle, in between 2 titanium liners there. Scales, this guy has a single piece of titanium that has been milled into this weird shape here, and with a groove cut in the middle of it for the blade to fall into. That's kind of neat. It has been very, very nicely made as an integral, and I think it's kind of cool that he went there, that he went for the full-on integral. And it also has some other quality-of-life things, like a lock bar insert, like an over-travel stop, which is definitely something you want on an integral knife, because you can't easily bend the lock bar back. I mean, overall, this is very, very nicely made. There is really no complaining about that. The action on it is quite good, with a great detent here. And it is absolutely, it's weird, but it's compellingly done. There's nothing I can point to build quality-wise here and say, oh, that was lazy, that was stupid. No, it's really nicely made. Next thing, this is a nice blade. It's M390 steel, which is going to be very important, because I know you're going to be out there, digging trenches, cutting, jumping out of airplanes with this guy. But nevertheless, I mean, it is a good steel. M390, chemically speaking, there's more to steel than chemistry, but absolutely, this is a very, very good choice. It has a beautiful sharpening choil down here. It has a relatively thin edge, and it has thinner stock than a lot of your integral knives out there. If you look at a lot of what's going on in integral land, it tends to be very, very thick, but this is actually relatively thin. I love seeing these thintegrals, if you will, out in the wild here, and it leads to actually a relatively thin behind the cutting edge sort of situation. So that thin stock coupled with a nice grind leads to have actually a very reasonable point on the end here. It leads to have, I mean, it's a very nicely done blade. It actually does cut things effectively, which is nice. Next, I actually already mentioned the action briefly, but the action on it is very good. It's actually a lot better than I expected initially. I mean, it's always a question, and this is a question that has been answered well. There are also a lot of nice little design details here. I mean, if you take a look at this guy, there's a lot going on. In addition to you getting all of these cool little raises up around the pivots here, you get some areas that are textured with this nice kind of ribbing for your pleasure. Then you have some untextured areas, and then little pockets of ribbing back here to give you a little bit more traction. The clip has the same thing with areas of ribbing, areas of smooth. You have all of these. They're just really nice little details here. You've got a two-tone blade finish, if you will, where you've got some sort of, looks like a blasting of some variety up top, and then you've got a more reflective satiny thing on the side or on the flats there. Overall, I mean, design-wise, it's got a lot of nice little touches. And then finally, on the good side, this thing is completely and totally freaking nuts. I mean, look, you take a look at this, and, you know, one look at this, you're like, oh yeah, HEA design, cool. And not even, like, I could cover this up, be like, oh, Sam's at it again. And I say that with all the respect in the world. He's doing exactly his own damn thing, and this is that. It is very clear that what you have here is a weird designer, and Sam, I mean, you know I respect the weirdness. Sam is HEA Designs. You know I respect the weirdness, but you've got a weird designer doing weird things here, and it really shows. It's kind of excellent. So, this is just completely nuts, though. I wandered around Blade Show, and I saw nothing else like this. And so that's cool. I love the fact that he's just run for it. Like, yep, I'm gonna do what I'm doing, and holy crap, am I gonna do it. So I kind of love that. And so to me, that's the good, is that it is completely nuts. It has some very nice design details in here, has a very nice action, a nice blade. It is beautifully made with surprisingly good ergonomics and a very good clip. On the bad side, it is expensive. It's $399 or $415 with a fully polished blade on there. Not like mirror polished, I don't think. This is the other one, the $399 version. Now, look, that's a high price. That's going to put it out of range for a lot of people, and especially for a knife that is not going to necessarily be the very, very best choice for an everyday practical, I only own one knife sort of situation. It's up there, but I don't think it's completely out of line. There's nothing I can point to here where I say, you know, this was badly made. There were no corners cut or anything like that, and considering that other companies, like, for instance, the Spyderco Paisan is bringing their integral in at $520, this ain't so bad. So, you know, $400 is where integrals have historically lived. I hope that comes down soon, but I don't think this is out of line price-wise. So, but it may still be an issue for some folks. Next thing, you're going to look at this hole and you're going to think, oh, wow, this is going to be easy to flick. In my experience, I really can't. Like, oh, well, now I freaking can just because But the key to it is that you need to make sure that you have absolutely no pressure on the lock bar if you're doing that. And, reliably like, I am not reliably able to do that flick. You just saw me do it once. Yeah, and the problem then is if you miss the flick, then you can catch the edge of the blade there. This is not a flicky knife. It has a big old hole on it, but if you're looking at this like, oh, I'll grind off the flipper tab, make it a flicker. No, not really. The hole isn't in the place that you want it, and the place where the hole is big enough, at least for me to get in there and flick, is a little too far away from the, or is a little too close to the pivot, that is, to get the good leverage. Maybe if you've got adamantium fingernails, you can get in there, you play in Spanish flamenco guitar or something, you can get in there and pop that guy out, but probably not most people. Next thing, this guy does need a detent ball ramp. As you pop this guy open, there is absolutely an area where, unless you move this, you know, a little further, it'd be nice to see a little ramp put into there. Not a big deal, but it's something that could be done. I'd also like to see slightly better lock bar access, maybe a little bit of rounding downwards on this part of the frame. Right now, it's sort of a jam your finger in and vector the force sort of affair. Not the end of the world, but it's definitely something there. Next thing, this guy is Well, not exactly the most practical blade shape ever, in case you haven't realized that. There is a reason that most knives don't come from the factory looking exactly like this one. The recurve is going to be a pain to maintain on flat systems or even flat stone systems. This is rounded enough that it's going to be problematic. So you're going to want to use something more closer to rods or something like that to keep this guy sharpened up. So, do keep that in mind. And frankly, look, it's a fine blade shape, and it's not so different from some things that I like. But the other thing to remember is if you're cutting down onto a flat surface, really all that you have is this part here. This part will never be able to touch a flat surface. Here, I'll use a ruler rather than cut myself in half. If I use this little flat surface here, yeah, between the flipper tab and whatnot, this part is never touching a cutting board. So do keep that in mind. Mind you, I'm not necessarily saying this is God's gift to food prep. No, I am not. But nevertheless, there you go. The blade shape has some impracticalities for sharpening and whatnot. Next thing, this is unfortunately a limited edition knife. He said he's making 99 of these in case closed. That's unfortunate. However, in this case, this knife is so weird that I kind of get it, right? I don't know. I bet he's going to sell these 99, and I bet there's going to be a healthy secondary for these, because it is a really compelling little piece, and I can see, years down the road, somebody being like, oh my God, I really, really want one of those, and, doing the time to track it down. But I'm never a big fan of limited edition drop sorts of things. I hope at the very least, if these sell out in 10 seconds, he's going to be open to making another batch of them down the road with some modifications. But, nevertheless, there's a thing. And then finally, the only other bad thing for me is that it's a little tough for me to flip in my hands. Because, okay, here's the deal. In order to flip a knife, in order to use any kind of a flipper knife, what you need to do is, put your finger here and then basically press the knife back against your palm. The thing is, having this very nice banana shape going on here, what that means is that for my fingers, I very much just want to push this right back out of my hand. It's sloped exactly out of my hand. It's got this little bit of texturing down here, which almost could use to be a little bit stronger. But it's a little bit tricky. So I end up finding myself having to grab elsewhere. To grab around the clip, to grab around this backside here, to pinch as I'm flipping. Then it works very well to flip open. But my normal kind of method of just like pull it against my hand and, go for it, just doesn't work so well here. So it's fine, but I could definitely use maybe a little bit more texturing down here, or maybe this is just a consequence of having smaller hands than some, that this just doesn't want to fit in my hand exactly as it needs to. But anyways, all of that is the bad is it's a little tough to flip with this smooth surface in the back here. It is a limited edition, recurves, and this blade shape is not necessarily going to be the most practical thing ever. It could use some better lock bar access at the 10-ball ramp. It is not super flickable, at least with my hands, and it is $399, which is a lot of money, puts it out of range for a bunch of folks, but at the same time, I don't think that's completely out of line. Final conclusion. There is a test. So I recently, a couple of weekends ago, I was in Atlanta for the Blade Show, which is a huge exhibition of all kinds of cutlery out there, and I was wandering around tables, and the thing is, there is a lot of stuff out there that looks roughly similar to one another. There are knives that you walk in there, and you're like, okay, who could have made this? Like, if I cover up the logo on this particular knife, who made this knife? Some of you are going to know this is the Civivi Praxis, but, this could have been made by any one of 10 people. The design is not particularly manufacturer-specific. And in some cases, manufacturers get around that by, some kind of a trademark sort of thing. If you see a round hole, it's a freaking Spyderco. But for the most part, design language isn't that constant across brands and designers, or within a brand or a designer. The thing is, this is not a problem for HEA Design. This has never been a problem because every damn thing that company does, that Sam designs, is kind of weird in a delightful way. This is the man who made, as you recall, an S35VN comb for your hair. He has a style that is gleeful. That's kind of the best way I can think about describing his stuff. Is like Sam is in some ways the exact opposite of a lot of the designers out there working right now, certainly in the modern production tactical world, where a lot of it is like taking themselves way too seriously. I get the impression that he's having fun. If you talk with him about his designs, he is just smiling because he looks at these, he's like, oh my, it's amazing. And honestly, this knife is damn near smiling. smiling. It's kind of like, it's crazy. So I feel like in this knife particularly, it captures something that is key to his design ethos. This little bit of insane enjoyment, and, you know, this knife is nuts. And you know what? I am thrilled that he did it. It is a ballsy move, 100%. To do something that is this far off the beaten path at $400 is a ballsy move. In fact, the comments for this video I already smell right now. We're gonna have, oh my god, I don't get it, $400, are you on crack? That looks like a Transformers anatomy, or something like that. But there's also gonna be, oh my god, I love it, where do I buy one? I think on his website. But anyways, I would much rather see a ballsy design like this, where it's just like, I'm going to go there and I'm just going to freaking do it, and you're going to like it or you're going to not. I'd like to see knives that stand out from the crowd, that are weird as hell, things that polarize and make people have strong opinions. It is better in some ways to die on your creative feet than to live on your knees, and make a bunch of vanilla stuff over and over and over again. But the thing is, this is a ballsy move, but more importantly, it is a well-done ballsy move. My initial opinion when I first saw reveal pictures of this guy, and I hadn't really fully processed it, was that, you know, oh, look, he made one of his things as a crazy integral knife. All right, I hope it's done okay. And it would have been very easy to do this as a half measure. I mean, for him to do, okay, here it is, my crazy design project. It's 8CR13 MOV and G10 scales at $100, or something like that. And, you know, honestly, yeah, it would have gotten across his design ethos, I guess. But no, he freaking went for it. When I handled this, it was like, this is completely insane, and this is a really, really, really well-done knife. This is a full-on good knife. It is beautifully done, and the main issues from it arise entirely from the insanity of the design rather than the build quality. After handling this guy at Blade, I knew I wanted to feature it on the channel because it is unlike all of the other stuff out there. It is an example of doing something crazy and going for it. Completely nuts. I love seeing that. My final recommendation on this guy is that this knife kind of recommends itself. If you've gotten this far on the video, you know whether or not you want one of these guys. You are either thinking right now, oh my god, this is insane, this is silly, this is stupid, this is not for me, and at that point you will be right, because it is insane and silly. However, you might also be thinking, this is insane and silly, and oh my god, is it awesome and amazing, and I want one. And you know what? You will be right too, because it is really awesome at another level. So if you are out, stay out. Absolutely 100%. This is not what you want to be doing if you are just going to be opening boxes and envelopes and you want something, you know, oh, I want something good and practical that'll serve me well. Yeah, no, it's not what this is doing. But I have no doubt that there will be people out there who are absolutely in love, who pick this up and who appreciate the design work, and who will smile when they pick it up, smile when they carry it, smile when they bust this thing out to open a box or an envelope or whatever else they do, and for whom whatever little friction points are in use here, or are in play here, are completely justified by looking like you're here to assassinate aliens or something like that. For those people, this will absolutely be a wonderful thing, and I guarantee you, if you were looking at this design, you were loving it, and you were okay with that price point, you are not going to feel like you got burned by this particular flame. So there you go. Completely nuts knife. Sam, good job. I mean, and I don't mean that patronizingly. It's just like, thank you for just doing it, right? For going for it. I love that. Even if this isn't a knife I would end up carrying in my daily life, I respect the hell out of the fact that you just went for it. Good on you, man. And I hope you sell exactly 99 of them very quickly to all the people who really do love it. So anyways, there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you, and that you thought this review was lit, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. You lit like a fire? No? Flame? All right. Sorry, that one burned me. Bye now.